Good morning, Global Studies students. Mr. Ozine here, and today I am here to talk through the first part of our Russian history notes on the Tsar to the Revolution, the first bit of PowerPoint notes. So I'm in this week's folder, and I'm going to start with this is the note sheet that you are going to be needing, just to give you the heads up here. All right, so I'm going to go back here to the folder so you can see where everything is. All right, the note sheet's right here. Put this into Notability. When you do so, you will see a note sheet that looks like this. All right, the key is this. There's steps on here. All right, so step one is everything here. Step two is here. Step three is all of this. Step four, step five, step six, and step seven. And why this is important is this is what we're going to be breaking down each day that we are on this topic. So for part one, we are going to start with PowerPoint notes. Take these from the PowerPoint called Russian History Timeline. All right, and we are going to do the slide title, The Last Tsar. I'm going to go to it real quick here, and I want to talk through here what things are going to look like as we start with Russia. So this is our Russia history timeline, all right? And we're going to be going back to around 1900. Now, the first thing I want to show you here is that Russia is a very large country. As a matter of fact, it's almost twice the size of the United States. You don't need to write anything down with this, but I just want to show you how big it is. The other thing that I always like to say is that when Mother Nature made Russia, she was in a very bad mood. Here's why. Think of Minneapolis. This is the Earth. If we could take the United States and move it over and kind of put it on over Russia, overlay where Russia is, all right, we can see that, look at the latitude of how far north Russia is. Think of Minnesota. We just got out a really cold spell, and we're at 45 degrees, all right? Look at this. Moscow, all these big cities are much more north. And you may be thinking, oh my goodness, how do they grow food? Glad you thought that, because that's going to be a problem that Russia is going to face. So we are now going to go through, and you will see here the last Tsar. All right, your notes will line up right here with step one. So the Tsar means king in Russia, is the leader in 1900. All right, he's a king, since Tsar means king, which means his father ruled before him, his father's father ruled before him. And Tsar Nicholas believed in something called autocracy, which means absolute rule by one man. All right. Now, Tsar Nicholas did not listen to his advisors, to his ministers. He ruled how he wanted to rule. He pretty much completely ignored everybody else that gave him some guidance or some help. All right. The thing about Tsar Nicholas is that he was a really good family man. I had 4 daughters, 1 son. He was a loving husband as well, but he did not want to rule. And as a fact, or as a result, I should say, the problem is that the citizens of Russia suffered. Russia, like we said, was pretty tough to live in due to the fact that it was so, or is so far north. So if I go to your note sheet right now, all right, you will see that you have the first 2 done. All right. Now you are going to come back to the final 3 slides after you watch the video clip National Geographic. So in your folder, you will go into Schoology, into that folder, and you are going to see, all right, here we go, National Geographic, the parts are there, all right, and that's what you're going to be watching. I put the time on there and everything. So take a minute right now, and you are going to be watching that video. The video that you are watching is Step 2, National Geographic Tsar Part 1. And you will go to 2 minutes and 55 seconds and watch it through 5 minutes and 13 seconds. When you do that, write down 2 observations about what life was like for the Tsar. Take a minute. It's pretty informational. What I like about this video clip is you are going to see that the Tsar loved family photo albums, and he was one of the first leaders that ever had news cameras. So he actually made a lot of home movies and videos. Take a minute and watch that. What do you think? Interesting, wasn't it? I find the Tsar fascinating. And as you started to see, it really is obvious that he does not care about the people that he is ruling over. With that said, we're going to move on to step number 3. Step number 3, you're going to be doing primary stories from the Children Romanov and primary photos. I love primary stories and primary photos because they actually show us what events were like when they happened. So for this one, you are going to be reading a series of stories, poems, as well as looking for pictures. What your job is going to be is for each of these headings, all right, for kids, workers, and a royalty, you are going to jot down some observations about what life was like for them. So for each group, if I were you, I might have 4 or 5 different things written down. All right. So again, you're going to be using the primary stories. Let's go to those. All right. In the folder for the week, you will see here when you scroll down, it says on here, if I look real quickly, you are going to scroll down here, primary photos. All right. And in the primary photos, you are going to see here, I have some information that you're going to look at. Again, these were taken at the time, right around 1900. All right. So go through and see what you see. Sorry, but that was kind of depressing if you ask me. You start to see a difference, don't you, between how the wealthy, the nobles, or they were called boyars, lived, and the rest of the Russian citizens. Now, let's go to the primary readings from the Children Romanov, which is a book that was written. In here, there are 3 primary documents that you are going to be looking at. All right. So this is one. One explains what life was like for the Russian peasants or workers. One kind of talks about the food situation. And then another one, a depressing one, is actually a poem that was read, all right, or a lullaby that parents would read to their kids at night. So take a look at these 3 and continue to finish out step 3. When you're finished with that, that's your end of day 1 task.